just play the damn thing.
All right, so about 5 years ago now, I put up a video called "How Guitar Center Buys Used Gear," or something like that. Anyway, that video is about 5 years old now, and it's since gone on to become one of my most popular videos. It still gets views today, and I still get a lot of comments on it. There are typically 3 types of comments that are left once you weed through all the regular trolls and all that bullshit that you find on the comment section of pretty much every video. You have the viewers that understand how this works and say, "Yep, that's exactly right. That's how it works. Thank you for for shining a light on this." You have the viewers who may not have a lot of experience in retail or in buying and selling on the used market, and don't have a real firm grip on how this works, and that's okay. That's really who that video is targeted towards. Comments from those type of people tend to go one way or the other. Some people are grateful. Some people tend to get pissed off because they heard something that they didn't like. And last but not least, you have the category of people who just, they think their shit is gold just because it's theirs. It automatically is worth more than everybody else's on the used market, again, because it's theirs, and they just simply will not accept how business works, period. So allow me to qualify myself here. I was a manager at Guitar Center for about 6 years at one point. I left the store in 2014. I have not been in that job and going on 9 years now. One thing that I got very, very good at while I was there was buying and selling in the used musical instrument market, guitars and amplifiers in particular. I actually earned this award. They called me the Used Guru for the year 2012. The reason why? That year we had probably 15, 16 sales associates in the store, working in the store that year. And I bought and sold more used and vintage gear over the course of 2012 than the entire rest of the staff combined. I know my way around the used market. I've got a pretty good grip on how this works and what to expect. So I thought I should put together this video to expand on a couple of things that people have commented on the old video a number of years, as well as just kind of provide an update, because I still get lots of questions about it. Let me read a comment from a viewer here just recently. This is actually the comment that inspired this video. It says, "I took my Line 6 Helix and Line 6 Power Cab 212 Plus to Guitar Center to sell, both in good condition. They offered me $700 for the Helix and $400 for the Power Cab. These items brand new are $1,700 for the Helix and $1,500 for the Power Cab. Keep your gear, don't sell it to Guitar Center." Went on to say, "I'm not saying they're worth $1,700 $1,500. Those are the prices of what these items brand new. I put it there for comparison. If they would have offered me $2,000 for everything, I would have taken it. What happened to up to 60% offer for used gear? My items are in great condition. $700 for a working Line 6 Helix in great condition, straight up lowballing. They talk all this shit about up to 60%. It's all a bunch of bull." I'm going to be honest with you. I did some research on those 2 items here before I turned off the camera, and I don't think they were that far off. Assuming what you're saying is accurate, and I'm going to assume that it is. So before we go any further, let's take a look here. So before we go any further, let's swing around here and have a look-see at eBay and see, so you can see. Let me show you what I have found regarding these 2 items. All right, so now that we have swung the chair around here to the computer, I'm going to share my screen. Let me show you exactly what I found on eBay regarding the 2 items here in question, just as an example. Let's go to eBay, and I encourage anybody who's selling a piece of gear to do this first, because especially if you're taking it into a Guitar Center or any guitar shop for that matter, this is pretty much the first thing that they're going to do to try to get an idea of the value of the piece of gear that you're trying to sell. So, start here, search for Line 6 Helix. This initial search result I have no interest in. I don't care about any of this, any of these prices that people are asking. I don't care about any of it because they tell me absolutely nothing. What I care about is coming over here to completed items, checking that box there on the left. Now we have a list of completed transactions. You know, there's the old saying that you know, something's only worth what somebody else is willing to pay for it. Well, completed listings on eBay will tell you precisely what multiple individuals have been willing to pay for this particular item. So as we scroll through here a little bit, you know, and weeding out all of the all the smaller models, and we don't, not the LTs, not the HX Stomps or any of that. We're looking for the floor models. There's one that sold for $1,000. There's one that sold for, anytime you see something with a line through it, that means that that's what the asking price was, and that means that they accepted less than that. So less than the number shown. So somebody took less than $11.25, you know, maybe $10.50 or so. I'm guessing somewhere in there. Maybe knocked off $40 and shipped it for free. That's possible too. You know, regardless, you know, we're still there in the 1100 range. There's one that sold for $12. There's one that sold for a little over $1,000. There's ones that sold for less than $11.50. Let's see. There's one that sold for $6.50. That's either a fluke or there's something wrong with it. That's probably a little low. Here's one that sold for less than $9, or a little more than $9 rather. There's one that sold for $9.50. There's one that sold for about $11, or closer to $12 really. There's one for $1,000. You know, so I mean, there's, you know, we got a pretty good idea. One for, you know, less than 12. There's one that that's the rack mount. That's a little bit different. There's one that did sell for about 13, limited edition color. Maybe worth another $100. So, you know, we'll call that one 12. You know, I think we got a pretty good idea. There's one sold for 12. You know, another one sold for 12. Pretty good idea here. These things are selling for between $1,000 and $1,200 all day long. You know, basically, you know, based on condition and timing. You know, $1,000, $1,200. That's what this thing is worth. Let's have a look. See at the power cab that he has. Power cab. 212 plus. That's the $14.99 model. That's the one he's got. There we go. There's one that sold for $11. There is a new one that sold for $12.50. List price $14.99. Somebody, okay, so for some reason they gave a 17% off discount. But even then, that's you can't really take that into account. But that's a new one. You know, but that's, you know, that's like the bottom end of what you can expect to pay for a new one at that price. So, and everything else here is, that's it. So there's one that sold here for $1,100. Let's get some more data. So I'll tell you what, let's go to Reverb and check out their price list. Let me preface this part with saying that Reverb, by the way, there is something about the community on Reverb where anybody who lists their gear automatically asks, you know, list it for the absolute, you know, usually way more than it's worth. You know, people, you know, people on Reverb think their shit is gold. I don't know why. There it is when I was doing some digging on this earlier. So we'll just pull that one back up. New from $1249.95. That might be that same one we just saw on eBay. Used from $1,100. You know, and again, these are listings. So I guess that's a new one. That one's available right now. Which is fine. We want to go to the price guide. 9.6. Power Cab 212 Plus. You want that one. Get price estimate. Alrighty, so said his stuff was in excellent condition. So I'll tell you what, let's do, just for kicks, let's go to very good. And price gear. And there's been 2 of them that have sold here and within the last 6 months on Reverb. One of them sold for 11, the other one, what's that, 750. 750 might be a little low. That $1,000, I guess is what that is. Probably a little bit more accurate. If we go back 2 years, we can see here, even over the course of this 2 years, they're topping out at about 1,000, a little more than that. And that 750 is the bottom, so averages probably looks like right around the $1,000 range based on what we're seeing here. Now this is very good condition. Very good condition. If we go up to excellent, as he claims his is, and I'm not saying that I don't believe it. Again, still about $900 within the last six months. Now we're looking at again the low point here over the last 2 years being about $850 and the top being about $1,250. That's probably pretty high. Most of these we're still seeing around 1,000, maybe up to 1,100 on a good day. So, again, these transactions here is not nearly as many of these that have sold on Reverb over the last 2 years as you would have seen on eBay. But if there's, since there's, not too much data to go off of on eBay, we're gonna take a look at Reverb and see what they have to offer to add some more data. So, and in this particular instance, I'm not a real big fan of Reverb's price list, and I did a video on that here a few months back. But in this particular instance, it seems to be pretty accurate. It's not pretty accurate. It's very accurate. Again, these are completed transactions. These are what people have been willing to pay for this particular item. So there we go. We've done our research. We now have a really, really strong, strong idea with data to support it, what these 2 items are selling for on the used market today. What people are paying for them, not what people are asking. What people are paying for these used items on the market today. Now let's go back to the viewer's comment. He said he would have gladly accepted an offer of $2,000. Based on what we just saw, we all just witnessed what the market is telling us regarding these 2 items that he was trying to sell. They are currently worth a total of about $2,100 on the used market today. Maybe getting up to around $2,200, $2,300 on a really, really good day. But generally speaking, for the 2, we're talking about $2,100. 11 for the Helix, and again being generous, $1,000 for the Power Cab 2, the Power Cab 212 Plus. Okay. So rule number 1 about the used market. And here's the thing. I see this all the time. People just they don't do a lick of research. So they take their stuff down to Guitar Center. They've got a figure in their head, based on what something sells for brand new, and expecting to get something slightly less than that because they paid for it brand new. And then they get all upset and they get pissed off when they don't get it or they get something significantly lower. Then they go home, they watch my video, and they comment in the comment section all pissed off. I see this all the time, and 90-something% of the time, they're always leaving out details, always. And this particular viewer is I'm not necessarily saying that was the case, but I did ask him in the comments section if he did any research, and I didn't get a response because clearly the answer is no. And I get it. You paid a lot of money for it, for this stuff brand new. You think that you should be able to get most of it back out of it when you're ready to sell it, but the world doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. The $2,000 offer that you were hoping for from Guitar Center is completely unreasonable. Now, what are they? We're talking again. $2,100 is what this stuff is worth. They offered you 11. you said it was lowball. I don't think it was anything close. I do think that you could have gotten them up a lot higher than you did, and maybe didn't try, or maybe you managed to get them up, get them to come up a few $100s, and it still wasn't anywhere near the $2,000 figure that you had in mind. But again, what something sells for on the guitar market brand new typically means jack shit as far as used market value. And the other things you got to take into consideration, Guitar Center has to make they got to turn a profit on this stuff. Any guitar shop is going to have to turn a profit on this stuff. They're not, just doing their, civic duty of offering you full market value to turn around and sell it for you at their expense. It's to assume otherwise is completely, it screams inexperience. It screams inexperience and screams that you have no idea how this works. You cannot expect Guitar Center or whatever guitar shop in question to not make money. And no, you cannot expect them to, on an item like this, they need to make more than $100. They need to make a lot more than $100. They cannot operate on, what would be probably less, in this instance would be less than a 10% profit margin. If they were to give you $2,000 for your stuff and then turn around and sell it for $2,100, they cannot operate on those kinds of profit margins. They need to be making $500 or $600 easy. So given all this information that we've gathered now, we got $2,100 worth of used gear, that needs to, the Guitar Center wants to acquire to sell. You are trying to sell it, so you want $2,000. They think it's worth $2,100. It ain't happening. So what would a fair offer on this stuff be? If I were still doing it, and again, I haven't been in that position since 2014. But back when I was doing it, I probably would have offered you the 14 to 15 range. They offered you 11. I'm willing to bet that you probably could have at least squeezed that much more out of them. Another $300 or $400. If you talked them down. And again, armed with the information that we're now armed with, presented that to them as why you think that would be a fair offer. Now, if you're trying to get full market value, you want to sell these things, you want to sell this stuff for $2,000, $2,300, hey, that's your business, in which case, again, I encourage you to do your research like we just did, number one, to save yourself the trip down there, and number two, so you know what to expect on the used market, as we already determined. Now, let's say that you've made the determination and the hit that you were going to have to take for selling it to a reseller like Guitar Center or any other guitar shop, a route that, in other words, a route that you would have to take to sell it fast, not deal with the headaches, of listing it everywhere and all that kind of stuff. Just get it done and get it gone. But, the convenience of all that stuff is not worth the monetary hit that you're going to have to take by selling it to those folks. I get it. That people are like that all the time. I'm like that with my own used gear. I very, very seldom sell something to a guitar shop. Very rarely. So you want full market value, which means you're willing to do the legwork and blister it yourself. I'll tell you what. Here's a fun experiment. And again, I'm using the viewer question here, and I'm using the Line 6, the Line 6 stuff that we've been referencing throughout this video. List them yourself on eBay, Reverb, Facebook Marketplace, Etsy, wherever, and all of them, not just one, but all of them. List your gear in all of those places and list them for what you think they're worth. Whatever price that you think somebody should be willing to pay for it. So if you think you ought to be getting, say, $1,400 for the Helix and say $1,300 for the cab, list them for those prices. And here's the deal: do not take a dime less. You're going to get a lot of offers for less than that. Don't take a dime less. Stick to your guns on your price, and then come back here in 6 months when they still haven't sold, and comment on the video down below and tell me your experience, because that's exactly what's going to happen. You can get lucky. You can get lucky. They could sell. You could just happen to find the right guy that doesn't give a frog's fat ass what the price is on him. He just wants it. And he is willing to fork out the money for your Line 6 gear, no questions asked. Those people are out there, but they're real hard to find. They're really, really hard to find, and they're the exception, not the rule. The rule is all the research that we have conducted here in this video. And one last thing, In regards to Guitar Center buying gear, a lot of things have changed, since I did the last video. The pay scale, for sales associates there has changed. I'm not familiar with the ins and outs of how any of that stuff works anymore. I don't know how those people are getting paid, as it relates to new gear, used gear, I don't know. And there are definitely some inconsistencies that I'm noticing nowadays with how they do buy used gear. It seems a lot of people, they just eyeball something and, come up with a price and make the offer from there. And then, as I just explained, it sits there for 6 months, and, they're forced to, to gradually drop the price over that time, and they don't make nearly as much on it as they probably should have if they bought it right in the first place. Guitar Center does make mistakes, and unfortunately they generally make mistakes that end up costing them money rather than getting customers a good deal. And that's the other side of this equation. When you do buy it in right, Guitar Center wants to sell it quick. They want to sell it fast because they want to turn a quick profit. They don't want it sitting there rotting on the wall for 6 months or more. They want to be able to turn a quick profit. They want to give the customer selling it as fair of a deal as possible, given the fact that they need to resell it and make money. And they also want to give the person buying it, a really good deal on the backside. Guitar Center is not as much of a bad guy, as a lot of people like to think. There are, I've heard stories where absolutely Guitar Center did the wrong thing with them. They made a bad offer, one that they should have done a lot more research in. There's absolutely those exceptions out there. But when I hear somebody bitching and moaning about a lowball offer on a piece of gear that they were selling, the Guitar Center offered them, 90% of the time, I found when I ask enough questions and gather enough information of what really happened, there was conveniently some pretty pertinent details that were being left out of that story. It happens all the time. All the time. If you don't believe me, go read the comments section on that other video and you will see exactly how I've responded to a lot of people. The moral of the story is, if you do the correct research and you're realistic about the gear that you have for sale, as well as the expectations of what you can actually get for it, you're going to be a lot happier and save yourself a lot of stress.